Hey, good morning, everybody. Friday is here. Hold on, let me turn off that notification. And we are ready to roll. How's everyone's year? Off to a good start, making some things happen. It seems like, as far as the acquisition space, things have definitely hit the ground running. And usually January is a busy, pretty busy month. That's when people are starting to try to make changes and that kind of thing. And for most folks, deciding to sell their business is a long process. And then for most buyers, deciding to buy a business is a long process. So both cases, like I think it usually takes that like big push or that ultimate, okay, this is the time to do it. And once you get to the resolution season and all that, you start to see people taking action. So this year is no different. And I think 2023 is going to lead to some exciting things. I think, last year and the past couple of years, we just had a lot of other opportunities that people were kind of split between. People were, I played around in the crypto market, and that was a lot of fun. And obviously, a lot of people have been in the stock market, but I think as we hit this recession, those things aren't going to be nearly as profitable. And that's what we see. The cool thing is, I've been in this for 20 years. Ups and downs, the small business market pretty much stays the same. The risks are the same. We look at our portfolio, 70% of the deals you're going to do, or really about 30% of the deals you're going to do really amazing on. 30% of the deals are going to do exactly what you thought, which is, pretty awesome if you're buying a 3 multiple. And 30% of the deals are going to below, and then you have kind of what's left over, which is going to, about 10% that are just going to be complete bombs. We're looking at a database today of one of the barter exchanges that we're in, and a lot of those businesses have gone out of business, which I think is going to be a neat opportunity and something I'll be talking about in future videos. But let's talk about this options thing. So we've got a video that's coming up. In this video, it is, it's really a training. So we've got a workshop that's coming up with Patreon members. And so I want to do this video that kind of just gives you a high level view of generating income from options, because we're going to be digging into that. And most of y'all should have that invite. If you haven't already, be sure to reach out and within Patreon. So I want to give you this primer so that once we get to that webinar, you already kind of have some of the basics. And so we're going to be talking capital raising. We had a couple good questions that came up on capital raising. I'm going to go into that. And then we're also going to be talking about this option strategy that I've been using for about 6 years to generate additional income to the business. So we've talked before about with a lot of the businesses that we buy, they've got capital. And that capital is just it's an opportunity. So you can buy other businesses with that capital. You can make investments. You can create income from that capital. It's all these things that you can do when you are acquiring a business that actually, hold on one sec. I just got this message that I have to respond to. Sorry about that. All right. So, you've got this opportunity with that capital, and the capital ends up being something that you can use to grow the income of the business. Most people think about doing that organically. Other people think about, all right, well, I'll go and I'll, buy another business. And, then there are these other things like options. Now, a company can benefit from selling options and puts for income. We live in a very fast-paced business world. Companies are always looking for ways to increase their income. For us, when we buy a business, that income stream is then could increase the value of the business, especially if you can have some kind of consistency and you can show the buyer of that business that this is just a part of what we do with the capital that comes in. And we bought a business recently that had $70,000 that when we took over the corporation that was already in that business. We have also done some other really neat things in in some of the other businesses that we bought that had even more than that. So here are the basics. An option contract is a contract that gives the buyer the right, but not the obligation, to buy or sell an underlying asset at a specific price and or before a specific date. So there are two types of options. I use both. So we'll sell if we have a amount of money that's in a company, we'll sell puts against that money. And then once we buy the stock, we'll sell call options against the stock. A call option gives the right to buy the underlying asset. A put option gives the buyer the right to sell an underlying asset. And in both of those cases, if you're selling the option, you're giving the other person the right. So you need the cash if you're selling the put. You need the stock if you're selling a call. Now, you get into some complicated things like naked options and that kind of thing. That's way too risky. I don't recommend doing that. I don't give any recommendations to you, but for me, with my companies, I recommend they don't do any naked trading at all. It's just way too risky. So let's say that you've got a company that wants to increase its revenue by selling options. The company can sell the call option to somebody if they already own the stock. But before we get there, we like to sell the put option in order to buy the stock. So in a lot of cases, if we're selling that out of the money, we're deciding, all right, like if I can get Apple at this very low price, and I'm happy to do that. So we have the cash that's sitting there. We sell the put option, basically just what they call way out of the money. And we're going to get into a lot of this with you Patreon folks. But like I said, I want to give you this primer so you understand. So we're selling that put option way out of the money. And we're like, hey, if Apple goes down this far, we are very excited to buy the stock. But typically what happens is it doesn't go down that far. And so we get to have that income, and that income goes on to the profit and balance of the business. And, if again, you can convince the seller of it, you can include that it can't be a large portion of the business, of the business income, but you can sell that business and sell that as a part of the income of the business. If you do happen to buy that stock at that low price, so it ends up crashing, you buy the stock at that low price, now you can turn around and sell the call against that. And so now you get the income again. And so you've got these two ways to generate a massive kind of additional income that doesn't require employees, doesn't require you to buy inventory. And so in some cases, when we buy a business, we're literally looking at, all right, if we want to buy the entity, which in most cases you don't, but if there's cash in the business, we just want to buy that entity and use that cash this way. In other cases, we may not buy the whole entity. So like in the case I was mentioning earlier, where they did have about 70,000 in just cash sitting in the bank, we didn't buy the whole company. So we just invested, and then we took over the cash in the bank, and then that's been growing. So this becomes a very cool thing until we find, because the better investment is still buying a business, but that money is just sitting there until you find that deal that you're going to buy and basically merge. So if the buyer does not exercise the option, the company gets to keep that premium as income. So if you're in a situation where you don't want to take a big risk, you get more money the closer you get to the actual price, which means, hey, I really do want to buy this. But if you just want to make a little bit of extra income, you can get way out of the money and not have to deal with the likelihood of you buying that stock. So when you're selling those options, the company will end up getting that additional income. They don't have to sell or purchase the underlying asset. You could also decide before expiration that you just don't want to buy it, and then you just buy that option back. And that would be some of the things that we get into when you want to decide to do that. But that's just a high level overview of what we're going to be talking about. Again, we're going to get into the nitty gritty on our upcoming Patreon webinar. If you're not a Patreon, the link is below, patreon.com/Ace Chapman. And we're also going to be talking capital raising. We've got a couple new strategies that are working really, really well as we're helping some of the deals that we're getting people into get access to capital. And, I've got a couple of things where Fiji, we're investing in some of the deals. We'll go over how you can apply or get access to those funds, and we'll invest in your acquisition. Thank y'all for checking out the video. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to check out the Patreon, and have an amazing, thank you, G Combs. Have an amazing, amazing MLK Jr. weekend. And wanted to shout out to Gene as well. Says, good day, Mr. Ace Chapman. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll talk